So good day, students. We are now again in our practical research 2. So we are now in understanding data and ways to systematically collect data. So in our previous discussion, we already have talked about establishing validity and reliability. Let's have now, we will construct your questionnaires. So we'll now gather data pertinent to your study. Okay. This module, so we'll have this competency. The learner constructs an instrument and establishes its validity and reliability. And our topic is understanding data and ways to systematically collect data. Okay, so most researchers agree that one of the most exciting parts of the whole research endeavor is meeting or communicating with the respondents of the study and having a glimpse of their thoughts through the answers provided in the data gathering instruments or the research instruments. However, constructing an instrument including survey questionnaires involves a lot of decision making and considers a lot of factors. So before an instrument can be distributed to your respondents. Okay? So that's why, so in your research project, I encourage you to look for a questionnaire first before deciding for your study, because you will not have a hard time in making your research instrument. Okay, because those questionnaires are already validated already and the indicators are already there. Okay, so that is the advantage of using or adapting a questionnaire from the previous study. Okay, so if you cannot find, so that's the time you're going to make your own questionnaire. Okay, so this module is hope to aid you as a student researchers in preparing your research instruments. It will help you gather the much needed data to answer your research questions. Okay, so let's have these warm-up activities. Okay, let's try this. So 4 picks, 1 word. I think you're familiar with this game, your mobile phone. Okay, so let's have number 1. What do you think is what does this pictures convey? Okay, what's your answer? Okay, correct. It is interview. Okay, next picture. Okay, the answer is questionnaire. Okay, so I think you got it right. Okay, number 3. Okay, the answer is survey. Okay, so I hope you got all the terms, the 3 terms. So these 3 terms are important in our discussion today. So I hope you get all these correctly. Okay, let's proceed. So creating research instruments. So after careful formulation of the research question, and statement of problem and hypothesis and identification of the sample, the next step is the research chain. It's the development of the data collection instrument. Okay, so after you have made all the necessary things in chapter 1, so go back again to your research questions, because those questions are the basis for crafting your research instruments. Okay, so those questions are needed in your study, so you will answer that. Okay, so how will you answer that? So you will have your research instrument. Okay, so research instruments are the tools a researcher uses to collect, measure, and analyze data that will help them answer their research questions. It enables the researcher to obtain information to the answers provided in the instrument. So survey is a research technique that is mostly used in quantitative research. And the most commonly used research instrument for quantitative research is the questionnaire. So as it can reach a large number of people relatively easily and economically, and can provide quantifiable answers, are relatively easy to analyze, and are less time consuming when data is being gathered. Okay, so especially now in the time of this pandemic, so you cannot have a face-to-face interaction with your respondents, so you cannot gather data physically. So it's very advantage to use questionnaires. So you'll use the survey. So using the Google Forms or Microsoft Forms, I think you're familiar with it because you already answered some of the forms like the attendance. So that is example. Okay, so we will use in your research research project. So you will have the Google Forms as a method in data gathering. Okay. So Rupa and Rani 2012 asserts that questionnaires are the backbones of surveys, and the ability of the researcher to design it in accordance to its alignment with research questions the key to questionnaire success in gathering the much needed data. So when a questionnaire is constructed well and comprehensively, the questionnaire becomes instrumental in gathering the data. So that's why, as a researcher, especially in chapter 1, you really need to have a broad scope. So you read a lot, especially in making your literature review, because that will be the basis in making your questionnaires. So you will really have to state all the indicators used in that variables. So because those indicators will serve as your items in your questionnaire. Okay, so that's why. So you really need to read a lot. Okay, so you must know the background early of your problem in the study. Okay, so the success of survey is really dependent on the satisfactory questionnaire construction. So pertinent question, correct ordering of question, correct scaling, and good questionnaire format. So these things may greatly affect the correctness of gathered data as they may reflect respondents' views and opinions. So that's why in our previous discussion, establish validity and reliability. So we need the comments of our experts, validators. Okay, so to review your questionnaire, so they will comment especially in the grammar and the physical appearance. So the order of the questions, is it grammatically correct? Okay, so it does it intend to measure really the questions, or does it really uh, gather the data needed in your study? So that's why you need to have a uh, expert validation or the comments from the set of experts. Okay, so Rupa and Rani also assert that standardized collection of data is enabled by a questionnaire, thereby contributing to collection of internally consistent and coherent data for analysis. So questionnaires also offered reduced cost in collecting data from numerous respondents. Diba? So it's very efficient, okay, and effective also because so you as researcher, so if you're going to use a survey, so it's very practical nowadays, especially you will use Google Forms, so you will not your health will not be in jeopardy because you just send them the link to your Google Forms and they will answer the questionnaire. Okay, okay, so in creating your questionnaire, so you follow these steps. Okay, so first, literature review. So absolutely, so in every research, so as a researcher, you must know your background of the study or or about your problem, because without that, you want to construct your questionnaire because you will not know what are the indicators to measure your variables. Okay, that's why you need to have a wide reading. Okay, literature review. Before constructing the questionnaire, you, the researcher, must review all the related studies to see if an already prepared questionnaire is available. Okay, so take note of that. So that's why I encourage you to look first for a questionnaire because it will be easy for you to conduct your study because there's already prepared, so you just need to adapt it. Okay, so absolutely you must also give credit to the or acknowledge the authors who constructed this questionnaire in your chapter 2 in the research instrument section. Okay, So take note that. So this will save your time and effort in creating your questionnaire. So but however, there will be instances where you have to create your own questionnaire. So therefore, you have to review your variables being studied in your question to be answered. In order for you to identify the indicators you need to include in your instrument. Okay, so it's really a hard time, especially if you do not read a lot, because your questionnaire will not be comprehensive if you do not know all the indicators used in the previous study in answering such questions related to your topic. So that's why you need to read. Okay, so this is an example. So this title: awareness of secondary students on on coronavirus or the COVID-19. So research question. So this is the inferential question. Is there a significant difference in the students' level of awareness on the coronavirus disease when grouped according to A. Sex, B. Grade, level? Okay, so notice that the variables in the research topic are, so we have the students group according to sex and grade level. Then number 2, students level of awareness. Okay, so first identify what is the what type of variables are these. Okay, so having identified your variables from the first step, it is now time to decide which information you need to seek from your respondents. So take note that some variables may have sub variables or indicators that can help you create your instrument or questions for the research questionnaire. So here we have here our independent variable is the sex and grade level. Okay, so since your research question needs to gather data about sex and grade level, so here, so in your questionnaire, so since we have our gender, the sex, so you must include male or female. Okay, while in the grade levels, absolutely, so you must include the grade levels in your question example, grade 7 to grade 12. Okay, so I hope it's clear. So you put there a checkbox, example male, female, they will just check the choices, and for the grade level, so they will just check grade 7, grade 8, grade 9, grade 10 up to grade 12. Okay, depending on the study. Then for your dependent variable, which is the students awareness on COVID-19, so for this, the literature review may suggest that awareness on COVID-19 can have the indicators. So these are the indicators. So number 1, we have here the virus physical and chemical structure. Then, so how the virus is transmitted from one person to person. So number 3, symptoms manifested if a person becomes positive of the virus. Number 4, how a person can get rid of the virus. So these are the indicators of the variable COVID-19 awareness. Okay, so you will use this in your questionnaire construction. Okay, so the 4 items under awareness are considered your sub variables. So for each sub variable, you can create your indicators or the items to be answered by your respondents. Okay, so that is the first part on making your questionnaire. You have the literature review. Okay, then the second part would be the informed consent. Okay, what is this informed consent? So this is used to let your respondent know, or you will ask them permission from them if they're willing to participate in the study. Okay, so this is under ethical considerations also in your research. So this is found in chapter 2. Okay, so absolutely, so you must seek permission in your respondents to participate in their in your study. Okay, so informed consent, always write a short letter to your respondents explaining the purpose of your study and how they can help you in the research activity. So don't forget as well to provide clear instructions on how you would like the respondents to answer your instrument. So provide Also, a statement asking respondents' consent or permission to take part in your research activity. Okay, so those are the things needed in the verb consent. So, for example, so principal letter we have here. So, dear respondents, so you must inform your respondents. Who are you? What is the purpose of the study? What is the study all about? Okay, so example here. So the respondents, we are a group of researchers from the grade 12 academic track, UMS, working on our research project entitled Awareness of Secondary Students on Coronavirus Disease. So I would like to thank you for your positive response to our request on your participation as respondents of this research endeavor. So if you do not wish to take part of this research activity, please return the questionnaire to the researcher. The researcher will respect your decision. Okay, so you have the explanation. So respondents, so this can be unchanged since you're addressing your letter to your respondents. Then here, the first paragraph should contain the information of the researcher and the research activity they are undertaking. There may also be a portion where you can thank your respondents for responding positively. Also, you may write a sentence that should, as your respondent does not want to take part in your research activity, and he or she may return a questionnaire to you. Okay, here then we have here this uh, so this survey questionnaire is intended to collect data on your awareness on COVID-19. So the questionnaire has two parts. So social demographic profile, so which is it your sex and gender, and the level of awareness. Okay, so then the section of the letter should explain the purpose of the questionnaire and its parts. This is to make sure that the respondents will be guided on the things he or she needs to accomplish in the questionnaire. Okay, so take note of that. Then, next, so please answer the questionnaire honestly as there are no right or wrong questions. Okay, so this is the instruction. So how to answer. Then, the assurance of confidentiality of the results. So as a researcher, so as ethical consideration, so you must not divulge the data you gathered in your study. Okay, so you just keep it as yours as a researcher, so not give it to someone else. Okay, so not to breach the ethical considerations. Okay, okay, this is examples of the informed consent. So the respondents, just read this example. So anyway, in your study, there's already a format, so just change the necessary things like your grade level and the title of the study, etc. Okay, this example of your letter to your respondents. So you will attach this to your questionnaire. So this will be the first page, so that your respondents can know what is the study all about, who are the researchers. Okay, so here in the researchers, so absolutely you will write your names here. Okay, okay, next. Questionnaire construction. So after deciding which information you need to seek from your respondent, it is high time for you to create your questionnaire items of your indicators. So take note that each item in the questionnaire must be developed to measure a specific aspect of the objectives or hypothesis and should be directed towards answering your research questions. So example, this is the independent variable in our example earlier. So since you want to gather data on sex and grade level, so you have his example. So sex, so I have male, female, so they will just check this part here. Then grade level, so you write 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so I hope it's clear to you how to construct questionnaire based on your research question. Okay, for example, you want to also to gather data about family income, so you can include here example the income range. So that will have hard time, so you can have a range, so 1,000 to 3,000, 4,000 to 6,000. Okay, so that is how to gather data. Okay, okay, next under dependent variable, so student awareness. So absolutely you will use those four indicators we have discussed earlier. Okay, these are the virus physical structure, how the virus is transmitted, then the symptoms, then the fourth is the how can we get of the virus, get rid of the virus. Okay, so then after that we will have now the Likert scale. So here it uses 4 points. So some other Likert scale uses 5-point Likert scale. Okay, so these descriptors, very aware it depends on your research questions. So you must decide what will you use here. Like example, you have here strongly disagree, strongly agree, agree, disagree, etc. Okay, so you just refer to your variables. So anyway, your research teacher will check it, so that will be guided, and also the validators will also comment if your description here is valid. Okay, share example of the questions. Okay, so example here. So this is the indicator, physical and chemical structure of COVID-19. So here are the questions. Okay, I am aware that COVID-19 is a coronavirus in a family of viruses called coronavirus. Okay, so your respondents will just check this part here. So example, they're aware, so the answer there is 4 or 3 or 2 and 1. Okay, so as you observe here, so that your respondents will not a hard time answering your question. So in constructing your own questionnaire, you can limit it into 5 questions in each variables. Okay, but if you adopted a questionnaire, so you will use the all the questions there. Okay, in your data gathering. Then another indicator, virus transmission. So you have already 5. Okay, so is the constructed questionnaires. Okay, then the third variable indicator, so symptoms COVID-19 individuals. As you can see, the question is related to the indicator here. So thinking about the symptoms, so the most common symptoms of COVID-19 are fever, dry cough, etc. Okay, so as you can see, so make sure in constructing your questions, it must be related to your indicator. Okay, then COVID-19 prevention. So how to prevent? So absolutely, your questions here talks about prevention of COVID-19. Okay, so don't include items here which is not related to the prevention of COVID-19. So example here. So how to prevent COVID-19? Since I talk about prevent COVID-19, so I'm aware that frequent hand washing with soap and water can help me from contracting COVID-19. As you can see, the question is related to this indicator because it talks about prevention. Like here, number 2. So it talks about social distancing. Okay, so it's a good question for this indicator. Next, wearing face mask. Okay, so it's good. Then number 4, disinfecting surfaces. So disinfection. So it's a way also, and so it's a good question in this indicator. Then 5 is using hand sanitizer and alcohol. Okay, so it's a good. So as you can see, these questions here are related to this indicator. So make sure when you construct your questionnaire, it must be related to these indicators here. Okay, so do not include items which is not related. Okay, so I hope it is clear to you. Okay, number 4, so you review. So make sure that all items will help you as a researcher in gathering the data that you need in relation to your variable. So some tips in constructing your items. So it must be close-ended. Okay, so in quantitative research, we prepare close-ended questions because so we really need to measure their responses. Okay, then clarity of all items is needed to attain valid results. So it must be clear. So don't avoid very big questions. Okay, then third, make items as short as possible. So that's why I told you earlier. So in your items, so you can limit it to 5 questions per indicator. Okay, because it's very tiresome for your respondents to answer very long questions. Okay. Then fourth, avoid items written in negative form. Okay, so it must be in positive form always. Okay. Then next, avoid double-barreled items or those items that contain two ideas which can be answered by respondents separately. Okay, so make sure you have that in mind. So you must have only one idea at a time. And avoid bias or leading questions. Okay, so take note of that. Okay, so let's do this. So any questions? Developing our research instruments. So instruction based on the conceptual frameworks provided in each item. Create a research questionnaire item for each variable in the framework. So follow the steps in constructing your questionnaire. You may look for literatures online or offline to serve as basis for your indicators. Here we have here the variables. So our an independent variable is the gross monthly family income, and then the dependent variable is life satisfaction. Okay, so here, so you must have your instruction here, so you can write here what is the instruction about monthly family income. Okay, then letter B, life satisfaction. So this is example of instruction. So below are 5 statements that you need to agree. Okay, so we are given an instruction here. You are going to supply these questions here 2 to 5. Okay, so make sure again your questions must be related to life satisfaction. Okay, you get the instruction again. I will repeat it. And letter A, so you must have a instruction on how to answer your questionnaire just like this. Okay, you must have the Likert scale. Then in letter B, you must construct your questions, okay, related to this indicator life satisfaction. Okay, number 2, for items, provide instruction to your respondents on how they should answer the questionnaire item. So provide the data to be collected, identify the scale of frequency to be used. So you may use available literatures for references in writing the items, okay, in the questionnaire. Okay, this is a spell framework, social media engagement. So here we have these indicators, Facebook and Instagram. Then our dependent variable is self-esteem. Okay, so again on letter A, same as we discussed earlier. So it's a, you must have here an instruction. Then you must have also your descriptors here. So what is it? Number 1, or the in the Likert scale, 1, what is it? Is strongly disagree, agree, etc. So it depends upon you. Okay, so take note this about the social media engagement. Okay, so then here at the box here, so you construct your own questionnaire about Facebook. Okay, so how are the students are engaged in Facebook? So example here, I upload a picture for myself, maybe wall. So or you can have here example number 2. I use Facebook Messenger to communicate with my classmate. Okay, so you can have that question here. Instagram, so you can construct your own question so related to this Instagram use. Okay, so how the students use Instagram. Okay, then for letter B, for our dependent variable instruction, so again you write it is. So how are you going to answer? So what would be your descriptors here in 1 2 3 4 5? Then same, so you're already given here a sample question, so you're going to write the question 10 questions about self-esteem. Okay, so you can research it in Google if you want. Okay, okay, so let's remember this. So research instruments are tools that the researcher use to gather the data needed for the research endeavor. So in creating your research instrument, you must, so first, so literature review. So conduct a literature review. And letter B, so you must have your informed consent. Okay, then third, so you must now construct your questionnaire. Another B, letter D, you review. Okay, Okay, so let's test ourselves. Section create a research instrument for your own research. So here you're going to create now your research instrument based on your research project. Okay, so here type your research title, then your state of the problem under your research questions, then your your conceptual framework, then you crop your questionnaire. Okay. Okay, then after that, so you have it check to an expert validator. Okay, so in our discussion in the previous module, so we already discussed this about validation sheet. Okay, so you will let your teachers or expert to judge your or evaluate the items in your questionnaire in your study. Okay, your validators. So you can have 3 validators for your questionnaire. Okay, so if you have questions and clarifications, so you can contact me in my Facebook Messenger. So I hope it's clear to you in our discussion today about understanding ways to systematically collect data. So in our next discussion, so we'll now have our intervention. Okay, so see you on the next meeting.